It's one of the busiest days yet at Hal and Stanley's garage. Seems everybody decided to get their car worked on at the same time. So naturally, Reed has a new job for Stanley. He says, a special messenger is bringing your power pill so you can get over here right away.
Only some big dog that just wandered in.
That dog, Stanley, is Special Messenger K91. And turn the spigot under his muzzle.
Of course, Stanley takes the pill as usual, and as usual, we see the reusable footage of it taking effect. Except this time, even the dog isn't buying it. At HQ, Stanley gets his assignment.
Stanley, my boy, do you remember Blackjack Clayton, the bank robber?
Wasn't he convicted of armed robbery about 5 years ago?
That's right, we nabbed him. But most of the loot, over $2 million in small unmarked bills, is still missing.
We think Clayton would be persuaded to lead you to that money.
Me? Why would he tell me where it was?
Because you're going to help him break out.
The plan is to put Stanley into prison as Creighton's cellmate. He'll be undercover as Slippery Sloan, the world's best breakout artist. He'll help Creighton escape from prison, and in return, Creighton will lead him to the stolen money. When they get there, the authorities will be ready to pounce. Stanley says, sounds good, but my power pills only last an hour. What then?
You will have this ring. A slight pressure at the base of the ring, and voila, a supply of concentrated power pills inside the ring.
Why haven't they been doing it that way all along? Why have they been making him swallow those huge gumballs? If I'm Stanley, I'm calling my union.
What do you guys think of next?
Well, right now, we're working on something to make you small enough to fit into a ring.
Holly, please.
Poor Trent, his middle name is backfired. Once Stanley and Creighton have broken out, the authorities will follow a signal from a transmitter hidden in Stanley's shoe.
24 hours a day.
My mother would have paid a fortune for one of those things when I was a kid.
She's not the only one. Stanley settles into his cell and establishes his identity with Creighton. Later that night, Creighton takes the bait. He offers Stanley a cut of the loot if they can get out of there. Stanley says, okay, let's go right now. Watch for the guards. Creighton turns away and Stanley takes a pill.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, where? I don't believe it. I see it, but I don't believe it. How'd you do that so fast?
I never give away trade secrets. After you.
Subtlety always was Stanley's strength.
It's the fuzz. We've been spotted, Slippery.
Relax. I told you how to arrange for the transportation. Now hop in and let's get rolling.
A cop's car.
It only looks like one. I have to phone installed so I can keep in touch with my bookie.
As I said, he turns on the beacon and Reed's receiver picks it up.
He's activated the directional beam. That means they're headed toward the money. I tell you, Harley, installing that miniature transmitter in Stanley's shoe was a stroke of genius. Nothing can go wrong now. Absolutely nothing.
He fails to consider the stupid factor in his calculations.
I'm telling you, my partner's been kidnapped.
Now, look, mister. You say he's only been gone since this morning, and you have no proof that he's been kidnapped.
Look, I don't need any proof. I know Stanley. He'd never take off like that without telling me.
Which is to say, how? The police won't help, so he goes to the papers and splatters Stanley's picture all over the place. Meanwhile, Stanley and Creighton head to Creighton's cabin where the rest of the gang is waiting, especially one member.
Have they known each other long?
I'm gonna go with yes. The gang says, let's go dig up the money. Creighton says it's dark. We need to wait until light so we can see what we're doing. To pass the time, they have a poker game. Naturally, Stanley loses all his money and the ring with his 2 remaining power pills in it. Creighton gives it to his girlfriend. So, what else can go wrong?
Come back here. When we dig up that money, we all stay together. Inside.
You should know better than to ask. Now Reed and Trent will wander around in the dark until they stumble upon the cabin. Meanwhile, it's time to go dig up the money.
Oh, $2 million in cold cash. I can hardly wait to run my fingers through it.
Well, you won't have long to wait, baby. All we gotta do is dig over there under that Christmas tree.
Which Christmas tree?
Well, there used to be only one tree out there. What fink planted all those other trees?
You mean you don't remember which tree you buried the money under?
What's the difference does it make? We'll dig under all of them. The money's out there someplace.
You can probably see where this is going.
Listen, BJ. Someone's starting the car not too far away.
Follow me, Holly. May have stumbled onto something.
You all right, BJ?
Get off of me!
So now they're captured. Creighton says kill them, but Stanley says no, let's keep them alive and make them do all the digging. Creighton goes for it.
Come on, quit stalling. Dig, we ain't got all year, Buster.
That's telling them, Slippery.
See, I have to make it look good or they'll get suspicious.
Yeah, well, just don't overact. You're talking to a civil servant, you know.
Just then, Margot returns with a bunch of groceries. Stanley makes Reed and Trent carry them inside.
If Clayton found out that Stanley was an imposter, it would be curtains for all of us.
It is curtains for all of us.
Oh, boy, of all times for his partner to get lonesome.
We must hide that paper at once. No, Stanley. We'll be sure to spot the ashes. Ah, here we are. There, that should take care of your secret until you can get your hands on your power pill.
As I said, when Reed said nothing could go wrong, he forgot to consider Hal. They go back outside and continue digging while Margot lies down to take a nap. While she's sleeping, Stanley tries to steal the ring back. You don't need the ring, just pop it open and get the pills out of it. Just open the ring and get the pills. You don't need to take it off of her.
Hey, Slippery, what are you doing?
You said I was cute, didn't you? Well, I think you're cute, too. You know, I'm a man of action. A-C-T-I-O. Action.
Let me go, or I'll scream.
So scream.
Creighton roughs Stanley up and the newspaper is revealed. Now it's curtains for all three of them.
There's always a slip-up. Chance witness. An easily identifiable piece of jewelry belonging to the victim.
Jewelry, huh? Thanks for the tip. Give him the ring, honey.
Why? You gave it to me. It was a present.
So sue me. Better than a rope necklace, ain't it? Now put the ring on his finger.
All right, but I still think you're making a mistake.
She's right. Stanley takes a pill and starts wrapping things up.
My turn.
That was a pretty good effect. 1 point for these guys. Stanley turns to Reed and Trent, who are still standing in the graves they had to dig for themselves.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Trent.
Thank you, Stanley. Yes, Stanley. Thank you very much.
Poor Trent, always the fall guy. In the epilogue, Reed tells Stanley that there's an official story being put out. He was found wandering around with amnesia and is now being treated and remembers who he is. That should satisfy Hal. But Stanley suddenly remembers they haven't located the money yet. There it is.
Congratulations, Stanley, you've done it again.
Why does he always come out smelling like a rose?
Because he's written that way and you're not. Accept your lot in life, Harley. It seems to me that this episode is a good example of why the series failed. We still don't know these people. Well, we know Hal is an idiot who dotes on Stanley. But really, we don't even know Stanley. So much of his personality is stereotypical. That's illegal. I shouldn't do that. I brush my teeth after every meal. He's not a person. He's a walking list of virtues. Reed is the source of the plot and a little more, and Trent is the fall guy. That's our four main characters right there, and they might as well be standees for all we know about them as people. There were some good jokes, and that effect with the shovel was well done. But we're so focused on those things, we're not going anywhere. We're not developing the characters. We're not using any kind of subplot, maybe about the gas station and issues with that. That's the sort of thing that could give us some insight into Hal and Stanley's inner workings as they deal with something more mundane than a $2 million bank robbery. That would humanize them a little. But we never did anything like that, and the show never made it. I wonder if there's a connection. Let's go over to Big Town and ask Captain Nice. It's Sergeant Candy Cane's day off, so Carter is taking her to the Natural History Museum to see an exhibit of materials from the Juba Indians of Brazil.
Oh, what's this?
A blowgun. I think you better put it down.
Why? It's empty.
Well, you never know. There's been many an accidental death in Brazil from a native cleaning his blowgun.
Right. Practice blowgun safety and keep your blowguns in a safe.
I hope you don't find all this too morbid.
Oh, no. I've always been interested in the strange, twisted ways of the savage brain.
Yes, that's why I studied anthropology.
That's why I became a cop.
Carter studied anthropology under the man who led this expedition, Dr. Edgars. He's basically a patsy for the museum director, Dr. Dunbar. Edgars goes into the jungle to discover, while Dunbar stays behind and cashes the grant checks.
I am honored to accept this official plaque and this grant for $10,000.
That doesn't seem fair. Isn't Dr. Edgars going to get anything?
He already did.
Oh, what did he get?
Malaria.
As the ceremony wraps up, we see a mysterious hand take the blowgun and some darts.
Right! Whoever did that, don't let him get away.
Carter slips into a side room to change into Captain Nice. Unfortunately, it's the room where the attacker is. That's Luna. He's a Juba Indian that Edgars brought back from Brazil. That whole thing was staged to look like Edgars saved Dunbar's life. Why? Because the next time Luna blows a dart at Dunbar, Edgars won't be around to save him. But nobody will suspect him of being behind it because he already risked his life to save Dunbar from a previous attack. It's pretty clever, really. I can't blame him for wanting to do something bad to Dunbar, and about that time, Dunbar gives him even more reason to hate him.
These are yours, old man. It's your ticket back to the Amazon. The plane leaves tonight.
Another expedition? But I just got home. What about my wife and my children?
Are you trying to tell me, Edgars, that as a man of science, you would sooner spend time with your loved ones rather than fight off bands of crazed Indians?
Meanwhile, Sergeant Kane has been assigned to guard Dr. Dunbar in case of another attack. Carter needs a sample of the Juba poison, so he heads for Edgar's office to borrow some.
But tonight, we must get our revenge on Dunbar.
Your revenge, Master. Luna never meet the man.
What was I tell you?
Luna wants to go back to home in jungle.
You're going to go back to your home in the jungle when I tell you to go back to your home.
The magic stick that holds the sun. I shall obey.
I'll see that you do.
Edgars has been trying to take the savage jungle Indian and turn him into a civilized Western man. It's not working. Carter comes in and starts asking questions about some of the things the professor is doing, so once he leaves, Edgars decides that they need to kill Carter first, then Dunbar. Luna dutifully heads off to obey.
Threw me out of his office.
No one in Big Town would smoke a ritual war pipe unless he were planning a ritual war, which is highly improbable.
Although we can't rule it out entirely.
Just then, Mother comes home and discovers Luna hiding in the bushes.
Who are you?
Forgive me, she who has the stick that holds the sun.
Are you crazy? Put that silly blowgun away. Now you come right into this house with me. We're going to find out who you are and what you're doing here.
I am Luna, poor South American Indian who was packed in crate and shipped to a strange land, told to kill many people he never see before.
Same old story.
She brings him inside and Carter tries to interrogate him.
Who are you? Listen, I don't like being a target, so you better tell us who you are. I'll be forced to...
You cut out that kind of talk.
What did he say? What does it mean?
Never mind.
We have our running gag for this episode. That phrase will pop up a couple more times with someone saying, "Watch your language," and someone else dying to know what he said. Luna talks about his spirit man, Dr. Edgar's, and Mother says, I prefer a spirit man who can fly, is impervious to pain, and is super strong. Carter takes the hint and heads to the next room to change into Captain Nice.
He is not a funny man. He's Captain Nice, the greatest spirit man of them all. Now, will you tell us?
Nothing can make me talk. Where do you want Luna to start?
Luna reveals that it was Dr. Edgar's who sent him, so Captain Nice calls Candy to warn her.
Hello, Sergeant Kane. This is Captain Nice. Are you alone?
Well, yes. Professor Dunbar just left with the relief guard. I was on my way out.
Well, listen carefully. I just learned that Dr. Edgar's is behind the attempt on Dunbar's life. You may be in danger.
Right on cue. And like all good TV people, he can't take a cue from her shriek. He has to keep fiddling with the phone.
Hello? 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 Someone disconnected the phone. Come on, let's get down there.
Yes, Spirit Man, but please bring with you the magic stick that holds the sun.
Oh, now, why should I? We civilized people don't believe in that ritualistic mumbo-jumbo.
Oh, come on. It's dark out.
He and Luna race over to save her.
What have you done?
I've injected you with a deadly poison.
You monster!
Oh, don't worry, the needle's sterilized.
What's going to happen to me?
Well, in a few minutes, you're going to experience those unique symptoms for which Juba Doom Juice is famed throughout the world of imaginative killers. Its victims go out thinking they're happy forest birds.
Just then, Captain Nice burst through the wall. Edgar's has been in the jungle for 5 years, so he has no idea who this ridiculous-looking character is.
A man in a cave.
Thank you, Captain Nice. Those ropes were cutting into my wings.
Your what?
Oh, no. It's starting already.
Luna says, this is my new spirit man. Edgar says he's an imposter.
Luna find out who is imposter.
You fool! Oh, maybe I got it out in time. Perhaps it's just a feather. Flesh wound.
Captain Nice exits and Carter Nash enters, chemist extraordinaire. With Luna's help, he whips up an antidote.
Here, Sergeant Kane. Try to drink this. Please. Open your beak. Try this. It's your only chance.
Carter,
Are you all right, Candy?
I don't know. I think you better kiss me goodbye.
Of course, Candy.
I think you better kiss me hello.
Hey, what you doing? You think you're in the middle of jungle?
Takamagadoy.
That was a nice way to wrap up the running gag. In the epilogue, Mother has done what Dr. Edgar's couldn't. Luna is wearing a suit and tie, speaks perfect English, and eats with a fork. He's no longer a savage, he's been civilized.
Yes, and now I have a mission. To bring these gifts to my people, and to free them from the superstitions that bind them to the past.
That's an awful lot for one man to do.
Don't worry, I have extra batteries.
With the possible exception of the subtle racism, this was a very good episode. The story and plot were complex, the characters were motivated, and most of the jokes were decent. We'll see if that scene between Carter and Candy goes anywhere, but she finally got to make out with him. And you know what, Mikey? I think he likes it! Where Mr. Terrific is still mission-based at the expense of the more complex stories and characters, Captain Nice seems to be going somewhere. We're getting insight into some of the characters, and some are even expendable on occasion. Or was I the only one who noticed that the Chief and Mayor Uncle Fred aren't in this episode at all? Meanwhile, Professor Dunbar is a major sleazeball who wants all the credit and grant money but doesn't want to do the work. Dr. Edgar's is the actual scientist who does the stuff and gets the shaft. He was played by Joe Flynn. Folks my age remember him as Captain Binghamton on McHale's Navy. He was a great choice for this character because that way of fawning and burbling partial words tells you what you need to know about the character in a few seconds. Flynn was a master of that sort of thing. Despite a few jokes that fell flat, this was a good episode. It really shows promise for the show. Can they keep it up? Only one way to find out. Until next time. There were some good jokes, and that effect with the shovel was well done. Well done? Oh, it was well done, very good.